What's up, everybody? It's the Bipolar Prophet, and welcome back to Old Ridge Farm and Farming Simulator 15. So you can see we're down here on Field 5 and 6, which are going to be renamed into something once I get them kind of back to where I want them, shape-wise and everything. If you remember from the last episode, we came down here and we plowed these two fields together, and got everything sort of in a shape, an initial shape. What I want to do now is we're going to cultivate these fields because I came down and spread some manure. Because as you would imagine, the end levels were pretty low, especially in the parts that had were a grass verge and a road. Obviously, they hadn't been worked for God knows how long. So that needed some nutrients. So I decided to come down and put some slurry down because I'd already plowed. So to put solid manure, I would have had to plow it back in again. Didn't make any sense. So, slurry doesn't need to be cultivated in for it to work, but the fields need to be cultivated. Plus, it'll be, as always, has the added advantage of getting rid of the weeds. Also, I decided, because I wanted to do a test plot of sunflowers over there on the back end of this field, I decided that I'd run some numbers through the soil mod calculator and, take a look at the reference sheets and everything. As you guys know, when I do soil mod, I tend to do it sort of by eye, right? I'm like, oh, it needs this or it needs this, and it may not be the most optimal way of doing it. I may not get the best yield I can get, So running the numbers through for the sunflowers on that field with the N levels, with the moisture levels, with the pH levels and everything. And then having a little bit of a play about with it to sort of get it optimized as best I can. And remembering that we can only water twice per crop type this year. The water restrictions have been lifted somewhat, but not all the way yet. So it looks like if I put sunflowers over there, the best yield I'm going to get is about 88%. Not great, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway just to get an idea of what kind of, how sunflowers are going to do over here. I think I mentioned this in the last episode. I said it a couple of times. It's not Chad who I talked to about seed stuff. It's Nick Christopher, and I apologize for that. Chad, don't want to add any more jobs to you. You know what I mean? I keep you busy enough with equipment as it is. Speaking of Chad, Chad sent a tech out to take a look at the slurry barrel and the filling arm. And he pretty much verified what I said. Just a weak ball in one of the valves, I'm not really going to worry about it. It's not leaking. I don't really use it anyway. I have a pipe connection, a hose connection from my underground slurry tank to the slurry barrel. So I don't really even need to use that arm unless I decide to bring, a slurry tanker out to the field to refill it, which I do have as well. I didn't show you guys that in the last episode, but I picked one up because we're getting to the point now where I have enough slurry to be able to use it on all my fields should I want to. And, instead of running back and forth to the dairy all the time, just made sense to pick up a used slurry transport barrel. Didn't cost a whole lot of money. So it made sense to get it. But anyway, if we tab around here real quick, we'll see that Perry is off on Field 11 North as soon as I find him. Oh, Perry, there you are. He's up here on Field 11 North, getting this field broken up and turned over and everything. And of course, getting rid of the weeds. We're going to put potatoes. I think it's potatoes up here on my crop rotation. You think I'd remember, right? I need to print that thing out so I can just look at it. Actually, Fields 11 North and South are going to have sugar beets on them. So both these fields, the field that Perry's working now and the field he'll move to afterwards, are going to have sugar beets on them. It just makes sense to put a lot of sugar beets in the ground for the simple fact that we're going to need, I need to justify the big piece of equipment we bought to harvest them with. So that'll be sugar beets. Potatoes are going to go over on Field 1. Those will actually be the first thing that go in the ground. And then the soybeans for the seeds to Soya UK will be the next thing, but we're not ready for that yet. Still a little early to be planting. Just want to get the groundwork up and running, so we're ready when planting season comes. Not too far away now, a week maybe a week. But anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and get cultivating here. Might as well get this thing unfolded. Get the tractor fired up. That would be helpful. Oh, I got some scuzz on my keyboard. Don't know what that was. Okay, now, let's see. Oh, yes. Must take the brake off. I'm going to need my HUD, actually, too. But I don't need all of that. Oh. What happened to Courseplay here? Something happened to Courseplay. It's done that before, too, if I remember correctly. Can I make that go away? Oh, you know what that means. I know exactly what that means. That means I have a conflict with something in the mod folder. Okay. Well, we're going to have to take a look at that, obviously. So I can't really hear my tractor. It's too quiet. There we go. I need to be able to hear it a little bit. Oh. Sorry about the flashy screen, just trying to get the volume just so. All right, might as well go ahead and get cultivating here. Let's get this speed down a little bit, because this field's a little tricky to follow the contours of. Now, obviously, this field's already been cultivated, so for the game, it's not going to make any difference whatsoever. That's a little slow. But at least we'll turn in the manure that I've spread. I didn't spray it on the whole field because it didn't need it. You can see the end levels are really high over here. Haven't fully decided what I'm actually putting on these fields yet. Like I said, I do have my crop rotation all set up. More to make sure that I'm not planting, the same thing in the same field year after year after year, because as you guys know, that's just horrible for the fields. Wheat you can double plant, barley you can double plant. I don't want to double plant soybeans or not soybeans, but sugar beets or potatoes, obviously, because they'll just destroy a field nutrient-wise if you just keep, and weed-wise for that matter, if you just keep planting them in the same field over and over and over again. So those are the two things that I really want to make sure that I'm moving, every year. So no more than once in every 5 years for sugar beets on the same field, and no more than once in every 6 years for potatoes. I also want to thank David Oldfield, who I'm pretty much getting all this information from, and from his viewers, who have been giving him a lot of tips on soil, crop rotation and things like that. And of course, I watch his videos, and he's learning as he goes, and I'm learning from him. So I just think it's neat. Does the game care? The game does not care one bit. You could plant the same thing in the same field 100 times. The game does not care one bit. But for me, it just makes sense to, especially on this map, to try to do it as realistically as possible. So. I thought I had put GPS in the mod folder. I had put it in, taken it out, put it in, take it out. But I guess I didn't. So apparently we're going to be doing this by hand. And again, does it really matter? Do I have to do this? No. But I'm going to do it because, well, it's something you would do in real life. So I am trying to decide. I do also have to get over here and put down a grass strip to put some boundaries down on these fields, and I'm still trying to decide the best way to do it. I think probably the best way is going to be for me to cut it straight across and make 2 fields out of this. I was going to try to do 3, but I think that's going to be too much. I think 3 fields would be too much to the fields would be too small, so I am tempted to sort of maybe cut this field right here and grass all of this off to the left, just so that I have enough of a verge to turn around, but that would probably be more of a convenience thing than anything else. And I don't want to do a whole bunch of stuff just for convenience. I want to do it because it makes sense. Now, again, I know I'm just aimlessly wandering around this field, not really doing anything at the moment, but I'm really just looking to get rid of the weeds, get the bits that I plowed cultivated, get the soil, as loose as possible, so that when we are ready to plant, we can. Yeah, it's funny, I've always said that, soil mod is awesome, and I love it, and it adds, it certainly adds a sense of realism and more tasks to the game, and that's really why I use it, because it adds more tasks. You guys know in the vanilla game, or on maps that don't have soil mod, you just, you plant, you fertilize, and you forget it, right, until it's harvest time. Now, if you spray or whatever, you do that because you want to, right, because, it's something that you enjoy doing or whatever, but you don't have to. At least with soil mod, it adds more tasks, during the course of the growing cycle, which is why I use it. Gives you something else to do. So, but I never really worry too much about getting, the optimum conditions, the optimum, pH and all that. But I saw Carl Farrar, another member of OEB. As you guys know, I'm huge fans of OEB. Without OEB, there'd be no Old Ridge, there'd be no series. So I watch all their videos, and Carl Farrar did a video where he used the soil mod calculator and a reference sheet that he had created for himself. So, and it got me sort of intrigued. It got me thinking, well, geez, this is how it's done in real life. Why would you send all your soil samples off, in my case, to Nick Crisford, to my seed rep, to have him do all the work that, that you have to pay for, obviously, and then basically ignore the recommendations, right? So basically what I did was I went and I, downloaded Soil Mod Calculator. I believe I got it from Mod Hoster. You can search it, you can Google it, and I'm sure you'll find one. And the reference sheet, and then I went into, I use OpenOffice, but, Microsoft Excel or whatever. Excel just didn't come with my computer, so I wasn't going to go out and buy it just for this. But OpenOffice works just fine. And, plugged in the numbers and then went over on my, homemade reference sheet, and put in the tasks that I have to do to achieve those numbers. Like I said, the best I'm going to be able to do over here is about 80%, and I've only done sunflower because that, it's just going to be a test crop, and I thought it would be a good way for me to familiarize myself with the process of, of doing soil mod maybe correctly, right? I'm sure that, the other fields that are in slightly better shape will probably yield better numbers, especially, with the crops, with barley, with wheat, things like that, so. But I figured, if we're going to spend all the time and, and to send off soil samples and to have them analyzed and everything, well, then I think it makes sense to, try to do it as correctly as possible. Obviously, now I do have field status in the mod folder too, but there's a little bit of a conflict with where it shows up. So I need to get into the XML and move where it shows up. And, I don't have a ton of acreage, as you guys know, so I need to maximize my profit in, for every acre. That's really where it needs to be. This isn't a hobby farm. This isn't a just for fun farm. It's a farm to make money off of. So, and I think it's time I start moving in that direction. Modern farming techniques and everything. Try to make as much money as possible. I've never really been the numbers guy, but I'm always talking about how, how I want this to be a real simulation, right? Well, let's do it. The stuff is out there now to play this as close to an actual simulation as possible. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and use the tools that are out there to make this as much of a simulation as we possibly can. So at some point I'd like to maybe record, because with OBS I can record my desktop, obviously. I'd like to be able to record, me actually plugging the numbers in and everything, and I may do that at some point, so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. If not, you can always go over and search Carl Farrar in YouTube. I'm sure a lot of you guys watch him already anyway. And he's got his playlist. I think it's Sandy Bay that he actually did it on, so it's the Sandy Bay playlist probably. Just take a look at it was either the last video or the video before the last video. Where he went through it, and he showed how to use it and everything, and it's really neat. It's written in German, but it does have an English option, so you can obviously, switch it to English. You can understand what all the things mean, unless you're German, and then it's perfect. So, and there's a lot of soil mod reference sheets out there too, if you guys are looking for those. My biggest thing is that I always forget what herbicide goes on what crop. So, for me, I just basically opened up Office Excel, created a new document, put all my field numbers in it, and then a bunch of rows, to denote tasks every day, right? I have switched the growth cycle back to 1, which I tend to do come the actual growing, season and all that. Just because, otherwise, although I have a lot of other things to do, during the growing season, it really sort of takes too long, in the overall growing cycle. You've got 6 stages, right? And then you've got, there's 5. There's 5 stages, and then the 3 after, harvest stages. The last one, of course, being withered. So, you're still looking at 6 days before you harvest. So I think that's plenty, and then we go back to 2 in the winter. For the grass mostly, because obviously I won't have anything in the ground. Although after this year's harvest, I will be putting winter barley in the ground. I was going to just swath it, and then it dawned on me, well, that's dumb, BP. Why would you waste the money, right? I mean, you'll have a crop in the spring to cut, to harvest, to make some money right off the bat, right? And you'll still have all the straw, so it's stupid just to swath it. Okay, now I'm just weed hunting now, so I'm just wasting time, wasting money, wasting diesel. Looks like we might buy Field 7 over there for the simple reason that I'll be able to get the alfalfa off of it. I'll be able to cultivate all the alfalfa off of it and get rid of the last little bit of lag I have over here. I think that makes sense. Field 12 is just way too big. You know, obviously I've checked it out a few times since I've been here in Old Ridge, you know, but me and the field agent actually walked it for the first time. And it's just massive, and it's too big. It's too big for me. It's too big for the equipment I have. You know, at some point, would I like to buy it? Absolutely, but it's not going to happen this year. So, but Field 7 may be a possibility. Probably not till after the harvest, just because I don't want to have a brand new field to try to, you know, break in and get right and everything in the middle of a harvest. So, I was going to cut this right here, and then I realized, well, that would be stupid, BP. Why did you bother to plow it all together if you're just going to cut it, you know, back in the original shape again? Exactly. BP doesn't always use his head sometimes. Probably going to be one more episode of groundwork, and then there'll be a couple episodes of, you know, maintenance stuff, you know, mucking out animals and selling some animals, because I got a lot of animals to sell, feeding and things like that. And then we'll be planting. So, you know, we're moving right along here in Old Ridge. It'll be spring before too much longer, so that'll be fun. Oh, if I had a brain, I'd do this in the cab. But you know what? I know I miss stuff when I do it in the cab. You know, because I'm not using GPS, which I'm gonna put back in the mod folder. So. Yeah, see, anything over here is gonna lag because of all the alfalfa over there in Field 7. So, if we buy that, I mean, buying that field is more of just a sort of a game logistical thing. You know what I mean? Get rid of the lag. Really like this cultivator. It's just the right size to do this kind of work with. So I'll keep the Discover to rip, you know, at the end of the year, especially the corn stubble. And then we'll use this for all the heavy cultivation. I can't speak today for some reason. Not particularly early. You can see by the real-time mod. It's, you know, 12:25 in the afternoon here in the real world. But, you know, BP doesn't get up too early, and it takes him a long time to sort of get moving and get coherent, or at least as coherent as I can possibly get anyway. Sometimes the edges of these fields, you know, it's a couple 3 years before they ever actually get, you know, fully turned in. Because I tend to use courseplay for this, you know. But in this case, you know, I don't really have a whole lot else to do at the moment. I mean, I could be mucking out animals and stuff right now, but I really wanted to get this done, and I haven't redone the courseplay courses for this new field configuration yet. So, slipping, found that one tree over there that he's going to get stuck on, but I think he will figure it out. You know what I should have done? If I'd have been smart, why didn't I go straight across here with the plow? Gonna have to come back in and do that. Gonna have to come back in and plow this up right here, because it doesn't make any sense to have that edge right there. Good job, Perry. You got it. Oh, probably after this is done too, I'm going to show you one other thing that I've done. Talking to Mike, you know, about sprayers and about equipment and whatnot. And I know he had showed me, he had sent me some pictures of what him and his guys had been working on about modifying one of the bigger 24-meter sprayers into a 19-meter sprayer. And it got me thinking, I'm like, well, geez, why don't I do that, right? So actually I had Perry over there working on that, you know, on bolting some booms and switching some hoses and all that sort of stuff, and then repainting it all. Had some case paint laying around, so we just give it a quick coat of red paint just to, you know, so it doesn't rust up and corrode and everything from all the chemicals that we spray through it. So that's where Phil is over working on that. Did I just say Perry? I think I did, right? Well, that'd be a neat trick considering Perry's over power harrowing Field 11 North at the moment. They're twins. I get them confused. Cultivation might not be the most boring thing in the world, you know, but, you know, again, it's one of those things that needs to be done, so. And in the spirit of trying to get stuff done in every episode, could we maybe jump in the cab? Could we jump in the cab? I mean, you know, I don't really ever do anything in cab. I feel kind of silly sometimes. Because in real life, would you be driving a tractor, you know, from a drone? Probably not, so. Look when you make your turn, BP. Not bad. Not bad at all. And I know I'm kind of going willy-nilly all over the field, but, again, because this doesn't need to be cultivated, per the game, I should have probably just plowed this whole field. It would have made more sense, and then I could have just set hired worker or courseplay up to do this. But, I don't mind doing it myself, certainly. It's, it's enjoyable, it's farming, it's, stuff that needs to be done. Although now I'm going to need to come back in with the plow and cut that bit off. Can't believe I forgot to do that. Because I'm a big doofus. Kind of need the big case for this, just because this cultivator is pretty heavy. As you would expect, it's supposed to be heavy. That's how it works. So, gotta be careful I don't turn too tight too. Otherwise, this thing will catch on the wheels and click and start to flip around. That's how you break drawbars and things. Can't afford to be breaking anything. We're kind of on a tight budget this year, after the drought and everything. So. How you doing back there? You doing all right? You're doing fine. Yes, I forgot to come back in and plow out some of that grass that I left in the middle, but okay, we'll deal with it this year. We'll maybe get it next year. I'm just trying to move forward on all this stuff now. So, you're such a sloppy farmer, BP. Yes, I am. I know. You wonder why I never make any money. Not as bad as Cuthbert though. Although I gotta say, Cuthbert, everybody gives Cuthbert a lot of crap, but you know what? He's coming around now. I think his old man sort of put the fear into him. You know what I mean? Like, you better start making some money. So stop, being a complete idiot. You gotta feel bad for the guy though. Well, maybe you don't. He was kind of an arrogant ass when we all first met him, but I think he's really trying now. So. And maybe we can even convince Mike, that's assuming he's going to put sugar beets in the ground this year. I would imagine he would, considering he did go in with us on the big Ropa sugar beet harvester. So maybe we can convince Mike to let him harvest his own sugar beets this year. I think, give him a little treat, right? I think he deserves it. I'll leave that up to Mike, though. Mike knows him better than I do. I still don't have a lot of interaction with him, although he does come down to the pub once in a while now. So, I think he's trying to be more... and again, where you have your drinks, where you eat your food is completely up to you, you know what I mean? But, why not come down to the pub and hang out with us? I mean, that's where most of the farmers in the area go. We all hang out and we talk about farming and, kids and all that sort of wives and, well, I don't, because I don't have any of that, but not in the game anyway. Well, I don't have a wife, period, either way, but. See, missing bits. Doing it in the cab, missing bits. You sort of get a sense of, of actually doing it when you're in the cab, I suppose. So. I think I probably should have hung a little bit more weight on the front of this. Ugh, that dip. Man, I wish I could fill that in. Well, maybe a few years of working it, pulling the soil over, it'll fill it in. It won't, but I could go in a Giants editor and fill it in, I suppose. But I'm not so good with terrain editing. I've done it. I've done some in the past to get flat areas for things or whatever. But I'm not particularly good with it. I always end up either making a hump or making it maybe smoother but jagged on the edges and stuff. And there's ways to do it, but I don't do a lot of terrain editing in Giants editor, so that's probably why I'm no good at it. Have to watch some videos, I guess, and get a good sort of technique for doing it, because I may want to fill that in. Okay. Don't drive off the edge of the field, BV. Going over this a couple times to break it up certainly won't hurt it any, Good soft soil to get planting in, so with the good, dark Old Ridge dirt, you just can't beat it, so. apologize, I get a little quiet there. It's just that, it's sort of, I don't know, relaxing, I guess. It's funny how I always say that, right? The stuff that I generally have, Perry or Phil, of course, play, obviously, do, and then I realize that, wow, you know what? I should do more of this myself because it's kind of relaxing and it's a lot of fun, so. Yep. Now, see, I could tell by the sound that the cultivator actually lifted off the ground there. So that may actually be an issue, and I may have to have a look at that in Giants Editor so that I'm not catching headers on that thing. Yeah, see, that's a pretty good dip right there. I don't know. We may let it go for this year and see what happens. If I keep catching headers on it, you know what? Maybe not. I don't know. Now I'm torn. I can't afford to be breaking headers, that's for sure. So ripping off knives and bending, reels and all that sort of stuff. Cannot afford that whatsoever. Gonna have to remember to put GPS in the mod folder too. Gonna do that as soon as I'm done with this. This one, doing it this way right now is not so bad because, obviously this field didn't need, except for the parts that I plowed, to be cultivated. So, but next year it will be. So, going to be handy to have GPS in so that if I decide I want to do it myself, I can. Let's get myself enough room to turn here. And I'm not lifting the cultivator on purpose, just to get the best sort of soil breakup I can. Even though I did technically put a headland in this, I still don't want to lift the cultivator. Just let it do its thing, Geez, I wonder which one of us is going to be done first, me or Perry. Oh. Phil's got to be done with that sprayer by now. Although I don't know, who knows? It's a process, right? Like anything else. So it's not so much to taking it apart bit; it's to putting it back together again and making sure it works. That's the tricky bit. So, and he seemed to be pretty confident when because we were all down the pub talking to Mike about it, and Phil was like, Perry was like, oh, I don't want to mess with it. Maybe you should bring it to somebody and have them do it. And I'm like, oh, that's just money I don't want to spend though, right? And Phil piped up and said, I think I can do it. And, and I was like, okay, that's an expensive sprayer. Do you think you can do it or do you know you can do it? And he's like, well, I won't know I can do it until I actually try. You know what? I got to have faith in my guys. I do have faith in my guys, obviously. And from what I've been hearing, everything's going pretty well. So just so long as he gets it back together again and it works right and everything, I'm pretty happy with it. So he says he's sort of on the last step now. He's painted it all and everything. So we will find out because we will be using that quite a bit this year, as we do every year. So. And having a shorter version, I've been wanting to not cut the booms, but reduce the boom size of that thing for a while now, and I just haven't had a chance to get around to it. It's just too wide for most of the fields that I work. So. And as you guys know, I've caught it a few times on trees and everything, so the outer booms were getting a little mangled anyway, so the fact that they came off was not, the worst thing. In fact, Phil was like, oh, maybe we could sell these, on farmerparts.com or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, they're a little bent up. So I guess I'll just be workshop art and just hang out in the workshop for now. I swear these weeds are growing back as fast as I cultivate them. Weeds! Obviously, whatever we plant over here, we'll put some herbicide down. So I have to look at my crop rotation again. Again, it's not right in front of me, so I don't know exactly what I'm putting over here. I know I'm going to put a test plot of sunflowers over there on the far end of this field, but after that, I'm not really too certain. Now, I'm kind of curious to see what happens with the cultivator when we go over this dip bit. Yeah, see that? Yeah, that part's not. Ooh, that's deep. That's deep. Well, okay. Okay. Either I bring a couple tipper loads of dirt over here. I don't have a leveler, but I'm sure I could come up with something to level that off. Have to figure it out, I guess. It's only right in the middle. It's not too bad right on the edges. Like my first thought is to just leave it, you know, be like, all right, just leave it. But you know me, especially if I'm driving the combine, I'm going to forget, and I'll drive that head right into that hole and just break stuff off of it. So, and I cannot have that. Yep, this cultivator was not cheap by any means, but you know what? I'm glad I bought it. You know, you got to have more than one. You know, that's the thing. Does the game care? Game doesn't care one bit. You know what I mean? Game doesn't care. You know, cultivator's a cultivator to the game. But you know, if you're trying to play as realistically as possible, then you're going to need to have multiple pieces of cultivation, you know, tillage equipment. So, because everything has a specific function. So. I'm just going over and over in my head about this hole. About, do I pull this into Giants Editor and fix this? Oh, apparently Perry's going to finish before I do. Well, that's okay. See, it's not awful right there, but it isn't fantastic either, so I don't know. I think what we're going to do here is we're going to finish up this bit. And then we will call this an episode. And then in the next episode, we'll come over here, put the grass strip down to, you know, sort of delineate the new field boundaries. I will have fixed my mistake over there with that grass verge that I didn't plow. And we'll probably be mucking out some animals, you know, and getting the manure moved around and everything. And then, you know, like I said, a couple episodes of maintenance-y stuff, mucking, moving animals, doing things like that. And then we'll be into planting, so. And spring will have sprung officially here in Old Ridge. So. I want to send out huge shout-outs to all of you guys, too. Thank you so much. You know, I say this all the time, but every time I log on, you know, and you know, and I'm looking at comments and I'm looking at stuff you guys are saying, and you know, and leaving me tips about things and asking me, you know, and telling me stuff that I don't know. You know, I mean, obviously I spend a lot of time Googling stuff and looking at stuff to see how stuff is supposed to work and all that. But you know, you guys who are real farmers who have or who have real farming experience, you know, giving me tips and everything, that means a ton to me, and I really, really want to say thank you. Also, Jasper, you may have seen my friend Jasper had left in the comments that he was willing to send me down his Samson PG20 slurry tanker, you know, from his farm down here to Old Ridge for me to have a look at, see, you know, because obviously we're having the problem with, you know, injection and all that now being a real thing with the Crawford Browns, and I'm not getting back into that again because it just it burns me and it makes me mad and it makes me say bad words. But you know, and unfortunately, to step out of character for a minute, you know, when I loaded it up in the game, I put it in a test version of Old Ridge. There was a conflict, I think, between, you know, whatever I had in my mod folder and that thing, that when I would disconnect the implement to, say, switch from the disc to the dribble hose swing arms, it would keep running and it would just pump, you know, slurry everywhere. Well, obviously I can't have that, right? So I think Jasper feels like it's his fault. It's not, man. It's not, my friend. It's not your fault at all. It's just one of those things. It's just farm sim being farm sim, you know? Wow, I missed a lot over here, huh? Grass tufts growing in whatever I plant over here. We'll deal with that after harvest, too. That's not a super big deal for me. But yeah, Jasper, it's not your fault, man. Don't worry about it. You know? It's just one of those things that happen. No. Here I will have to lift the cultivator, I think. Yep. Just to get this last bit on the edge over here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a little tight, BP, don't you think? Let's see. How do we want to do this? Oh, and I have that bit to do, too. I could probably do that off screen, though. You guys have probably watched me drive around in this cultivator enough by now, I think. Plus, I want to get Perry going on field 11 south as well. So get as much of this groundwork done as possible. All right. Let's make a turn here. Get the last. Try to get these weeds. There we go. Very good. Okay. Pick that up, and we can stop for now. Jump out for a minute. Just leave that right there. Won't leave it running, though. And let's go over and get Perry. Once we tab around everything. Perry, there you are. There you are. You're all done. Did you do a good job? Yeah, for the most part, you did a good job. All right, very good. Stop you. Boy, that's one feature I'd really like to see in Farming Simulator 17. I don't know, if it's going to be a thing or not, but it would be awesome just for the realism sense of being able to, maybe pull up a screen and say, send this tractor to this field, right, to do this job. Because that's what you do in real life. Now, in real life, Perry would just know to drive from field 11 north to field 11 south, you know what I mean? Because he knows that's what he's doing. So having to, it's awesome they have Courseplay for the animation, the automation and everything. But it kind of breaks the immersiveness and the realism when you have to physically come over and move the tractor, to the next field. Because obviously, Perry would know to do this. So, Perry, you missed some. You missed some. Some of this stuff won't go away anyway. Some of it's just stuck in the field boundary, It's just kind of how it is. So. All right. So there you go. So I'll get him going, and then I will go clean up my little bit of mess over there off screen. So in the next episode, we will be planting grass, putting a grass strip over there once I decide what the best way to break that field up is going to be. Perry will still be continuing on his power harrowing and whatnot. We'll probably be we will be mucking out animals, doing a couple episodes of maintenance, and then we can get into planting and get spring here fully and officially. As always, guys, thanks so much. Thanks for coming, for watching the videos, for liking, for subscribing and everything. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Hopefully you guys are having fun. You know what I mean? Feel free to get interactive, comment, leave me tips and suggestions, ask me questions, whatever, you know what I mean? Make sure to check me out on all the social media too. It's in the link, it's in the description of every video I put out. Thanks for everything you guys do for the channel. Thanks for being my friends. That's the bottom line. That's why I say it every video, because that's what means the most to me. You guys' friendship. That I wouldn't, I could do this without you. I wouldn't want to. That is the greatest benefit of making YouTube videos, I think, are the friends you make because of it. And thank you so much. And thank you for making me a part of your YouTube day. And this is the Bipolar Prophet saying, see you later.